Kansas City, it's me, Kim Randolph, and I'm back for a new season of Speak Up. Man, I'm telling you, we have so much to talk about this year. There's so much going on in the world, but also in Kansas City. One of the things that's about to happen in Kansas City is we're getting ready to start elections again. And in Kansas City, Missouri, there are going to be new candidates coming up for our city council. And so over the next few weeks, next year, I'm going to be talking to prospective candidates. This time, today, I have the pleasure of speaking to someone that I've known for a while, who I think Kansas City knows. He's a businessman, and he is running for the 5th District at large. Please help me welcome Mr. Chuck Bird. Hi, Chuck.
Hello, Kim, and thank you for the invite today. Looking forward to having some dialogue with you today.
Well, I'm really excited to have you, Chuck. You and I have had plenty of conversations. You know, I live in the 5th District, so the 5th District is near and dear to my heart. Not to say that no other candidate can come on. You're all invited. However, I'm very interested in the candidates in the 5th District and your platforms and some of the things that you see that you that needs to happen in the 5th District. But I also recognize you are running at large, so every district is going to matter to you. So kind of tell us about, let me back up. Tell me about Chuck Bird.
Okay, that's a good place to start. First of all, thank you for the work that you do in the community with the Heartland Chamber. Very vital role in this community and in the city. So let's get that out of the way.
Thank you.
So who is Chuck Bird? I am a lifelong resident of Kansas City, educated here in the Kansas City, Missouri Public School District. Been in business now for 45 plus years. It's a long time. So I'm kind of aging myself, but love Kansas City, and my family's here. I'm basically 5 generations. Well, I have 5 generations of family that's here. So my mom and dad, myself, and then my offspring. So
you started your business when you were 6, right?
Well, it seems that way, but it's interesting. But you know, to get more about me, you can actually go to my website, and it gives you all the background, who I am, what I've done, and so on and so forth. And so we'll give you that information as we move forward on to the interview. But lifelong resident of Kansas City, been in business here for, like I said, 45 plus years. Was in the collision repair business for 20 years, and then transitioned into the solid waste industry. So I figured cars and trash will always be around.
Always be around, yes.
So that's how I kind of ended up over here in the trash part of it. But, you know, my dad had the trash route when I was a kid, and he sold it when I was a teenager. And, you know, this is a fine testament to never say never. When he sold it, and I think I was like 16, 17 years old, and I said, I will never, ever do this again.
Wow.
20 years later, I find myself in the solid waste industry. And so I started in 2000. Yeah, in 2000 is when I got into the solid waste industry.
Wow.
And started with 1 truck and 17 customers. But all of that is part, you know, you can go to my website and figure all that out. So yeah, I am a family man, love my family, a proud father of 3 daughters, and didn't have any sons, but I have 2 grandsons, well, 3 grandsons now, and a great grandson, and I have a granddaughter. And so I got 2 son-in-laws, and so my dad has passed away. I'm the middle child of 5 from my brothers and sisters. So I'm in the middle. I have 2 older brothers and 2 younger sisters. And so when they were going left, I was going right. So I was kind of the black sheep of the group. But we've had some business ventures. We do concert promotions, platform promotions. We do that as a family. A few years ago, we had a restaurant in the historical 18th and Vine District, Bayou on the Vine. And so we made a lot of new friends there and a lot of people happy. And so we kind of transitioned out of that, and then my daughters went on to start their families. And so, but yeah, family is very important to me. My walk with Christ is really important to me. And so those are things that really drive me and make me happy.
And in order for our communities to thrive and grow, my opinion, and that's my opinion, business is very important in having that business background or sense of business. Tell me what your thoughts are on politics and business.
Well, one thing I'm not a politician. I am a businessman.
Yeah.
And I know in what I do, there's politics involved just because of the nature of the beast. And so one of the reasons why I'm really running for city council is I think the lack of, no disrespect to our current council people, I believe that I can bring a business aspect to City Hall, and I think that's very much needed in the days and times that we're living in right now, because there's a lot of opportunities that I believe we as a city miss out on because of the lack of the business component.
Yeah.
And so that's the reason why I'm saying I want to bring business to City Hall, to the City Council. And so I believe that in my tenure of 40 plus years of being in business, not saying that I have all the answers, but I believe that I have some tools that I can move the needle in the right direction, especially for the small business people, because I've been there. I know what our struggles are on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah.
And so creating opportunities for them to grow their businesses on multiple levels.
Okay.
So
and that is also very important to our communities. We need our small businesses to thrive in order for our communities to grow.
Exactly. And so when we say small business, I want to be clear that when you use the term small business on a state and federal level, and so what I've been hearing since I've been doing the forums is we got to do more for our small businesses. And I get that, but I think we need to bring clarity to that from the standpoint of when we say small business on a platform such as that, understanding the guidelines that the state and the federal identify small business. From the state and federal side, their definition, SBA, saying small business is companies that employ anywhere from 100 to 1,500 people and has gross revenue anywhere from 1 million to 14 million.
Wow.
That's not the small business that I'm talking about.
Right.
And so when we say we need to do more, or when they say we need to do more for our small businesses, I think they need to bring clarity to that.
Right.
And so I don't think those companies that are doing those kind of numbers really need any funding. And so I'm looking at the businesses that are on corridors such as Prospect, Truce, Vivian Road, to the north, you know, and so we need to be careful when we say that. I want to be specific when I say I want to be an advocate for small business, creating opportunities through projects that come through Kansas City that we typically don't get an opportunity to participate in. And so with emphasis on Black business, because we can continue to do disparity studies.
All day.
You know, it is what it is.
Yeah.
There has been a disparity and a decline in opportunities for small Black businesses to grow. And so these are things that I really want to really dive into, because we have businesses that are able to provide a useful function on these projects, but they get overlooked.
Yeah.
The deals are already cut. And so I believe the deals start with our city council. And so if our city council are getting the first look at the opportunity, I think then is the opportunity to set the tone. This is what we're going to do, Mr. Contractor, and these are the steps we want you to take. And so I think it starts with city council. I know development is tough, but it's needed in order for us to grow as a city. All I'm saying is that we need to have people on city council that are going to be knowledgeable on negotiating good deals, that's going to be beneficial to our community, to our businesses, and not put us in a position where it's going to cost us money that because we didn't negotiate in good faith.
Right, right. So, you know, there's a couple of things I'm gonna go into, but right quickly, I want to talk about the collaboration piece, because I think in our community also, I hate to see us always find someone that we put into a seat to represent us, and then we leave them there by themselves. We're not there to give them the support as a community. We're just expecting you to wave a magic wand.
Right.
And I want to talk about how do we make sure that we're collaborating, or how do you make sure that we're part of your support system?
Well, one of the things, we have to ask the tough questions. You know, we have to qualify people, and we can't assume that they know.
Right.
Because the late Doc Holliday says, trust but verify.
Right.
And so I'm not going to assume that you have the business background to go and speak on behalf of the community when you don't understand the process. And so what I mean by that is, if you're not familiar with our programs that exist, and I'll use the HRD's program for Kansas City. Typically, when an individual or a company comes in and they ask for tax increment finance, there's always the other components that comes along with it. So that means if you're getting money from this city, we have a program that we want you to embrace. And if you don't know that that program exists and you don't know how that program works, chances are you're not going to want to have conversation about it because you're not knowledgeable about it. Not holding that against you,
right.
But it's important because it's vital to the growth of our small businesses. And so I'd rather negotiate the deal on the front end and not say we're going to make it up over here.
Yeah.
I want you to know, coming in the gate, here's our program. You need to adhere to it to the best of your ability. If you're not familiar with how that works, we have organizations like the Heartland Black Chamber of Commerce that you can go and get educated on what that looks like. And so I would lean on situations like that and organizations like the Heartland Black Chamber to help educate those that don't know about our programs.
Yeah. So I wanted to segue into the collaboration of the committees. Or the council people, your constituents, because you have to go into a committee, you're on a committee, then you've got to get past committee and go to council. And one of the things that I find personally as a resident and a voting resident is when I go to meetings, we're at this point now in America, this is not just Kansas City, that it's no negotiating at all. No collaborating at all. It's my ideal, my way, and if we don't do it my way, we're not going to do it. And so we're kind of stuck here that we're not moving either way. No one's winning.
Well, by me not being at City Hall, all I can do at this point is assume because I see the results of what happens.
And that's me too. Yeah.
And so please understand that. And so I'm not sure how that piece happens. I know from a business perspective and me doing enough deals in my tenure to know what the process should look like. But I know when you start dealing with city government, you're dealing with different type of situation. But at the end of the day, it's still business.
Yeah.
And so I want to make sure that as a seated city council person, number one, that I have the collaboration of my colleagues. And by the way, I want to say this. This particular election is very critical for us. You're talking about having 7 out of 12 new city council people.
Wow.
7 out of our 12.
Yeah.
And so this 7 people, this council here that we're about to see is going to set the tone for the next 10 years, 12 years.
Yeah.
And so it's going to be very important that we have the right people in the right positions. And so I said that to say this. Number one, I believe that you have to have the collaboration from your colleagues in order to push any initiative or any recommendation that we're going to move forward. You have to have that collaboration. And if that means bringing them along and helping them understand the importance of what it is that you need their support on, then you take the time to do that. Not just say, okay, we're going to do this and I need your support and I'll catch you on the next one. Yeah. No, I need to help you understand the importance of why I'm asking for this to happen this way. And I'm not saying that that's not happening, but that would be my approach, to making sure that we have a collaborated effort and understanding the importance, because I'm quite sure, like I said, well, I haven't said, we have one city with two separate issues.
Yeah.
The North has issues, the South has issues.
Yeah.
And as a city council person at large, you have to be knowledgeable about the heartbeat for both of them in order to relate to the people. Not that you're playing two sides, but let's just keep it real. North has a relationship with their police department in the community. South doesn't. And so how do you navigate your way through? And those are important things that you have to make sure that you're not overlooking.
And that's really interesting, Chuck, for me, when I talk to you and I talk to other candidates, you know, and that's something you bring up, and I'm not putting any other candidate down.
Right, right.
What I find unique to you is your not only understanding, but your connection to both sides.
Right.
I mean, you've touched the areas around the districts that you pretty much so know all the districts. Tell us about, you know, how that's helpful to someone that's going to sit in that seat.
Sure, and that's a good question, Kim. And I've had the very unique opportunity over my tenure of working with the city as a contractor, of serving both North and South. When I started providing service to the Northland residents on both trash and recycling, I remember starting in 2009. The house count in the Northland was basically, I remember it's 56,680 homes.
Wow.
Those are just single family dwellings. We're not talking about the apartments or anything like that. And so we were providing service to that many residents on a weekly basis. And so I had an opportunity to really understand the lay of the land in the Northland. And then when you start adding in the different organizations that I chose to get involved with in the Northland, the Northland Chamber of Commerce, Forward Kansas City, and then serving on the city's Fairness and City Contracting Board for 7 years, and understanding that whole dynamic, growing up in the South part of the city, and that was my stomping grounds, and still providing service in that area too. So I had a very unique opportunity to get myself knowledge of how things work.
Right.
And dealing with the 152 corridor, and dealing with the Bruce R. Watkins freeway, and all of those things. And so in seeing now, here we are, and these things are established. And so you got to make sure that you're meeting the needs of all the people. Not so much this is what you have to do, but you understand what their requests are. And so I know where the blight is in the Northland. I know where the blight is in the South part of the city. And so I've had that very unique opportunity to have that knowledge. And these are things that I want to bring to the council. I know that Northlanders are not wanting to continue to, when they have graduations at their school, to come to Cabadama Arena, because they don't have a facility north of the river. And knowing that and having conversations with them that, you know, they're getting prepared now for the World Cup.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
And so we need to make sure that we're moving in unison. Not just they're doing this and we're doing that. And so this is one of the things that I want to make sure that we are collectively doing. I have no problem galvanizing people to work in unison. I mean, that's what I do, you know, and so I don't know if I answered your question.
Yeah, you know, you did. And the thing is, and I'm going to say this, I'm taking off my chamber hat, and this is actually, I'm trying to be a reporter here, but actually an interview. And some of the questions that that the people will ask is, but why do you feel like that you are most qualified? What makes Chuck Bird the most qualified person? Kind of like when you start a business, you think about what differentiates you from the business that's doing the same thing that they're already doing that you want to start. What's your differentiator?
Well, for one, number one, I love Kansas City. And as I stated, being in business here for 45 years, you know, God's been good to me, you know, and we've had opportunities to employ people and put people back to work that typically wouldn't have an opportunity. And so looking at what I know and what I've learned over the years, no disrespect to any of the other candidates, what I would bring to City Hall, number one, is some leadership, the business aspect, and being able to think outside the box and negotiate good deals on behalf of the city. Deals that's not going to come back and hurt us or hurt the community, our businesses, our churches, and of course our residents. Do I have all the answers? Absolutely not. But I believe in reaching across the aisle and talking to my colleagues to help us collectively understand what's in our best interests. You know, is this move that we're doing, who's it going to hurt? You're not going to be able to make everybody happy, but let's do what's in the best interest of the community, not an individual. And so for me, it's not about the position. It's not about having the title. It's about the work. I'm at a place in my life now where you learn, you earn, and you return. It's time for me to give back to the city.
Earn and return,
It's time for me to give back to a city that has created great opportunities for me to be an asset to this city by employing people. And I believe that I have some tools, not saying that the other candidates don't have them or do have them. I just believe that I have some tools that will move this city into the right direction moving forward. And so that's one of the reasons why I think I'm a better candidate, because I have, and I'm doing this strictly based on who I see that's running for this field. And there again, I'm not one that bashes another candidate. I don't do that.
Right, yes.
I think all of them, I've had the pleasure of sitting on forums with them. All of them have great ideals. I just think that the city and the residents have to make a decision of who's the best candidate, because trust but verify. You know.
My partner in St. Louis always says, how do you tell a sheep in wolf's clothing? Check the tracks.
Right.
And it's not to put anybody down. If your tracks are right, then you're going to be okay.
Right.
You know, I am just really elated at the idea of having 7 new seats.
Yeah.
So that's 7 freshmen.
Right.
And so that is a majority of the council votes. That's the majority side. Not to say that, you know, it would become one-sided, but it would give this is a fresh perspective coming in the door. I believe that every single candidate, every person that's ever sit in any of these seats go in with the best intentions.
Right.
And they do their very best, and they work as hard as they can. Like you, I don't put any of the candidates down. I'm not one that can say anything about somebody, what they're not doing, because I'm not in your seat.
Exactly.
But I will say that I'm a true believer that, and I'm Christ and God has been really good to me. And so you try to do all the good you can, as often as you can, for as many as you can.
Right.
And going in there with that mindset is going to be amazing for Kansas City. I'd like to know, you know, we know that there's a disparity in the districts. We know that the 3rd and the 5th district have some of the most disadvantaged areas and underserved areas. And then there's also, and I'm not exactly sure which district, but the Hispanic district on the west side,
the 4th district.
So it is the 4th, 5th, the 3rd, 4th, and 5th districts are the districts that seem to have the most disparity. And sometimes I have people talking to me and they'll say, you know, nobody cares about us. And the other districts get in any and everything they want. How are we going to balance that?
Well, it's a good question. One of the topics that has been on the forums that I've been to is, of course, blight, you know. And so my strategy would be, Kansas City has what we call a land bank of properties that have been abandoned or whatever the case of the matter is. One of the things that I made the recommendation is, first of all, from a business perspective, there again, the business component kicks in. And so I can't just come in and kick the can down the street.
Right.
And so the business component kicks in and says, okay, how many houses do we have? Okay. And so visually going to see what we have. And then my approach would be, number one, to go identify contractors that are willing to work with the city. Mm-hmm. Okay. And so that would be my first stop. I'm not saying that it hasn't been done. This is Chuck Bird's approach.
Right.
And so I would first identify what we have in inventory and see how many do we have that can be remodeled and put online to help with our homeless situation.
I'm going to go there, so you've already answered that. Yeah.
So first of all, I would identify the contractors that are willing to work with us.
Yeah.
And in my tenure of 45 years, I know some contractors that have heard me talk about this, and it's a commitment from them. They have to line up with what my desires are.
Right.
And so then the other thing I would do is the banks, the local banks that have just been receiving our deposits but not putting back into this community. Yes. I would identify lending institutions that are willing to participate in the process. And what does that mean? I need some interest loans to match what these people's income is and not boilerplate it.
Right.
And so this is just business to me. Yeah. And it makes good sense. You can't be in our community and just receive our deposits, but the only loans you want to make us is on cars that you have the ability to turn on and turn off.
Absolutely.
And so if you're not going to help us, no problem, but it is a problem. Yeah. But we're going to let it be known that you are really not a community bank. Yeah. Because if you were, you would want to be part of the process of growing. Well, that doesn't line up with our model. Well, guess what? We want somebody in the community that does.
So there, in these communities, there are, though that's one, the homeless was one of the issues I was going to bring up, but there's three other issues that I'd like you to just kind of touch on. One is transportation. Mm-hmm. The other one is health. Mm-hmm. And the last one is education. Okay. And you can put them in any order. I always say that if we don't have good health, everything else falls to the wayside.
Exactly.
So I'm going to.
So let me deal with the education first because it involves our young people. Absolutely. That's our future. Yes. And so I was just talking the other day is making sure that we offer them the quality education that they need. But the other component is we have to meet them where they are at. Yes. And not just say, here it is, you either learn it or you don't. A lot of them don't learn that way. Yeah. And so you say, well, we got to get special tutoring. If that's where they're at and we have a group of them like that, for whatever reason, no fault of theirs, they didn't sign up for this, but we have a responsibility to make sure that we're meeting the needs of our young people. And if they don't learn that way, why are we teaching that way? You have to teach the way that they learn, and not say because you're slow or whatever. That's where they're at. Yeah. And so because they're not where we want them to be, what do? We just kind of leave them behind, or you're
it's that cookie cutter box.
Yeah. And we
if
can't
you're
take
3 years old, you should be at this level.
Right. Yeah. And so we have to design programs to meet the needs of where the kids are at. And let's just face it, it is what it is. Yeah. And so that's one of the things I would do is make sure that our education, our school districts, or our charter schools are meeting these young people where they're at. If we have to bump it down a little bit for them to comprehend and bring them along, then let's do that. Okay. The other thing is programs for them. When we were growing up, I know these things work. When I was growing up, we got out of school at 2:00. You either went to band, ROTC, a choir or something. Yeah. Right now, these kids are getting out of school at 2:00. Mom and dad doesn't get off work until 5 or 6. They got 4 good hours to do whatever they want. Right. And trust me, the majority of it is not productive. Yeah. We have got to put programs back in place for these young kids that are that age bracket, because these crimes that are happening now are getting younger and younger people. Yeah. And so I was just listening to something being said about we're spending $6 million on the developmental stages of our new jail. Do we need a new jail? Probably do. Yeah. But give me 3 of those $6 million and let me put some programs together that will assure these young people do not have a resident at the new jail. Yeah. And so it's just things like that we have to get our hands around and stop kicking the can down the street, because if you're figuring he's going to do it or she's going to do it, chances are it's not going to get done.
That's right.
And
So I'm going to have to, I didn't realize that we were moving so fast. So Chuck, you got to promise me you're going to come back.
Sure, I will.
Because we still want to talk about the transportation.
Yeah.
There's other things that we want to put on the surface. We want to bring to the surface. And I don't want to leave out of here without you having an opportunity to tell us, how do we make sure that Chuck Bird is on that ballot?
Sure, Kim, and I appreciate the opportunity to be here. Listen, the only way for me to advance to the general election is for you to write me in. I'm a write-in candidate. You can go to my website, Bird for KC. That's BYRDFORKC.com. There you will find my webpage. You have to actually write me in on April the 4th. That means that when you go to the polls and you're given the ballot, you know, you'll see the 5th district, you'll see the names, and then you'll see a line that says write in. You have to physically write my name in. And so I've been campaigning that way. My desire is that you have heard something that's going to prick your heart, or something that I've said that says, hey, let's give this guy a shot and see what he can do. I'm a realist, and I'm willing to roll up my sleeves and go to work for you, Kansas City.
Well, Chuck, I want to say thank you for coming. I am holding you to it. We're going to put a date down today to have you back on the show. Kansas City, I want to say thank you again for always tuning in to Speak Up. Televida, it comes to you from Televida. That's all I can tell you, is that we're great together. We love them, and we will be back. We'll see you soon. Stay tuned, because Speak Up has a whole lot more to say. Have a great day.